Hi, and welcome to our final episode of 5 Women, 5 Days. First, we pay our respects and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, past, present, and emerging. In my case, that's the Jarawar and Guyabal peoples. This is a series of chats with women writers as we celebrate International Women's Day 2021. And first of all, I'd like to introduce you to all of the participants over the last few days. We have Elizabeth Mary Cummings and Sonia Bestulic, Allison Paterson, and Diane Evans. Today, on the last one of our series of chats, we'll be talking to Sonia. Sonia Bestulic is based in Sydney, Australia. She's a multi-award nominated author, the founding director of Talking Heads Speech Pathology. She's the podcaster of Chat About Children with Sonia Bestulic, and she's a highly regarded speaker. With an extraordinary blend of creativity, intellect, empathy, and passionate, determined drive, Sonia shares a natural gift for empowering people of all ages to embrace their own personal growth. Sonia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jane.
Sonia, I just wanted to ask you first about your book that's due to be released in a few weeks. It's your third book, and it's called Flourish for Mums, 21 Ways to Thrive with Self-Care and Acceptance, and it looks beautiful.
I'm slightly excited. I just got it this week. So, so very excited. Thank you, Big Sky Publishing.
So can you tell us more about your book and how it chooses to challenge the theme of International Women's Day this year, and how it builds resilience in women and specifically mothers?
Yeah, well, I think anyone who is a mum or would know that there are constant challenges in motherhood, and one of the big ones is how do we include ourselves within our own circle of nurture while still celebrating the children in our lives. And that was something that I really wanted to share in Flourish for Mums, and to provide some tools and strategies that could really help mum honour themselves. And I know that oftentimes mums will just go, well, I don't even know where to start or how to do that. But in terms of where the inspiration came from, it came from working with thousands of mums over decades as a speech pathologist. And, when they'd come in, they were just really wanting their child to be happy and healthy and wanting the best for their child. And we're already at a level of experiencing various challenges. And often, they themselves needed the support together with their child or their children. And so Flourish for Mums came from that place of, hey mums, it's okay to value yourself and include yourself, and that is going to have a beautiful flow-on effect to your children. And I experienced the same challenges having 3 children in 2.5 years. And I guess I learned a lot, and it's always a learning process, but I learned a lot from that. So I guess in terms of how Flourish for Mums chooses to challenge, it challenges mums in lots of ways. It I guess opens a door to challenge inaccurate beliefs that mums might have about themselves, to challenge inaccurate and unrealistic expectations that have been cast upon them within society, and also to challenge any autopilot way of living and adopting a deeper level of self-connection, and within that, a deeper level of connection to others. So so that's pretty much a bit of background on Flourish for Mums.
Sounds like a great read. Really, sounds great. And what you were saying about the challenges of the women that come in to you seeking speech pathology, I mean, it's hard enough for mums whose children don't have any particular problems, but just that little bit harder for those who have. So you also have 2 award-nominated children's books. Reece, Give Me Some Peace, shares the messages to find joy by learning through play, and Kisses in Your Heart, which empowers children to draw on the strength of love that they carry within them to inspire bravery and courage. So can you tell us a little bit more about how these stories also relate to the International Women's Day themes?
Yeah, and I should really have been more organized, like you remarkable women, and had those books next to me, but I don't. But I do have a poster. There they are. So yeah, so there's Reece, and I love Reece. He's a fun-loving character, and he absolutely loves exploring, and he plays various musical instruments. And his mother really wants some peace and quiet, basically, throughout the course of the day. But what I love about Reece is he has so much to teach us, and we can learn so much from him because he perseveres. He plays and he enjoys playing and exploring and discovering the wonders of music. But of course, that relates to anything in life that we can be immersed in and enjoy. And Reece kind of reminds us of learning through play and challenging the status quo. You know, we don't always have to use something the way that it was designed to be used. And kids do that all the time, which is, you know, very, I find very inspirational and interesting. And he also shares that message of, you know, do what brings you joy despite the challenges, and despite his mum wanting some peace and quiet, he just keeps going. So, so I feel like that's how Reece relates. And then Kisses in Your Heart, this is very much a story that facilitates the building of emotional resilience. And again, you know, a mum is featured within this as she puts her daughter to bed and sends her off to bed with kisses in her heart. And it's obviously very symbolic in that it reminds children that they carry love within them, and encourages them to draw on that love, and they can draw on it any time and any place, to really inspire them to be brave and to be courageous. And that in itself is super empowering, and allows them to have a tool to respond to challenges. And what's been really quite moving is that when I've shared that story with children, and often there's always adults present, just watching how that story and the symbolism of it touches the hearts of the adults as well. And of course, especially the mums there, who have just, they could share because they could connect with the meaning and of the messages, and often they get teary themselves because it does move. It's quite moving within that. So yeah, so there's a lot of empowerment, and I just love that accessibility to a source that is within you everywhere you go, and that's, I love that. I love that ability to be able to respond to challenges or feel reassured by that and be comforted.
Thank you. Well, yeah, that's a really strong embodiment of some of the themes of International Women's Day. So before we finish up, can you tell us who are some women who have inspired you?
Quite a lot of women have inspired me, and I do have to say my own mother, my aunties, my grandmothers, and I have so many mother figures in life as well. And when I think about my mum and aunties, they all came to Australia. My mum specifically, where she grew up, was destroyed by an earthquake. So left without a home, that pretty much was the catalyst for her coming to Australia, with no kind of notion that was ever going to happen in her life. So it was quite sudden. Obviously no knowledge of English. So there was so many challenges within that. And I just admire her a great deal, and the other, her sisters who came out, and at that time, I know it came up in one of our other chats about communication was so different back then. So my grandmother being away from her 5 children quite often for very long periods of time. As a mum now, I'm like, how did you even do that? How could you be away from your kids for so long? Like, I just find it really hard to imagine. So there were a lot of obstacles that they overcame, and perseverance, resilience, persistence, never giving up, getting on with it was just in their absolute core. And I just have so much to thank them for. So yeah, so that is very much top of mind. And then when I look at other women, women gone before me. I've always had a really high regard for women such as Mary MacKillop, and Mother Teresa and Caroline Chisholm. I love everything that they did, and that element of being of service is something that's very close to my heart. So yeah, so they would be the women that I admire and have been inspired by.
So many great role models out there.
There are heaps.
Yeah. Sonia, very quickly, we're about to run out of time, but can you tell us where we can get hold of your books?
Yes, Big Sky Publishing website, Simon & Schuster website, Sonia Bestulic website. Yeah, let Google be your friend. You will find them. But yeah, thank you so much, Jane.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for joining us, and happy Women's History Month.
Yes.
Bye.
International Women's Day.